falling feels like flying for a little bit until you hit the ground. That is literally what it feels like when you don't know what's gonna happen. You're gonna feel like you're flying, but self-awareness will feel like it's falling from the very beginning. Hello, my loves. Welcome back for another video. I am doing a huge giveaway at the end of the month for Hailmas. I feel like it's the perfect time to do it. It is literally the giving season. All you guys need to do is subscribe to the channel, and I know when you do, it lets me know. Also, to comment and engage with each Hailmas video. Comment anything that you want. I will just be able to know that you are a part of the giveaway just by your comment alone. And I'm gonna pick someone at the end of the month. I'm gonna put a whole playlist together for Hailmas so you guys can keep up. And I know it's gonna take you guys some time to watch because you're busy. So I'm gonna pick the winner probably between December 25th and January 1st. But good luck to everyone. I love you all. And yeah, happy Hailmas. So I wanted to turn today's video into another discernment series video because I love these videos. I love making them. I think a lot of women can really take a lot of the things that I say and apply them into their lives. But this discernment series is a little bit different because I specifically asked you guys on my Instagram to ask me personal questions about myself that you want me to answer. And I took some ones that I thought were really great to put into today's video that you can definitely take a lot of gems from. When I do these videos, it's really just about a girl in real time going through the motions of life and growing. When I look at myself now and looking at myself 4 years ago, I don't even recognize my younger self. And I actually think that that's kind of a beautiful thing because it means that I'm doing the work. I think that there's something to be said when someone just says, I've changed. And another thing when you can actually see the physical changes happening. And I feel like I can see that in myself. Although it's gonna be a journey that's gonna last a lifetime, it's gonna last forever because we are always growing when we live life. And essentially, in all of that, it makes you more discerning, which is why I wanted to bring this into today's series. And I hope that you can learn a little bit more about me, which I always share with you guys a little bit about myself anyways, but also really take some things home with you today. Okay, the first question is, what are some things that you feel like you still need to work on? There are so many things that I need to work on. And I think that when we practice humility and also welcome in the idea of growth and continuing your education of learning yourself and others, you never feel like you're perfect or too good for anything. When it pertains to myself, something that I want to work on within is definitely the vacillation that I struggle with between being very obsessed and nitpicky and also finding that on the flip side, I can be very neglectful. And I kind of want to dissect that further. So I tend to get very nitpicky about myself in a way that is not conducive to me at all. Now, I will say that parts of me being perfectionistic and nitpicky have helped me in my career, but we're not going to discuss the good things that come out of it. I'm only going to discuss the bad things. The other day, I posted a video with Vikita Trivedi, and I loved the way I looked prior to sitting down and filming. I looked at myself in the mirror, said, oh, I love the way that this outfit combines. I was wearing like a white shirt that I tied and then white trousers. And I'm like, oh, this looks very professional and cute. And I sat down and filmed, uploaded the footage onto my computer, watched it back and noticed that my shirt that was once closed and very like sitting nice ended up kind of popping open for the majority of the video. And you can see my cleavage looking very unkept, in my opinion, on camera. That really bothered me, that I actually was this close to scrapping the video. I thought about it, was obsessed with it all night. Even when I posted it, kind of cringed. And the reason why I think it's a good thing and a bad thing is because I think that when you're nitpicky about things like this, you tend to be more presenting in a good way, but it's not conducive to my self-love journey and my perception of my body image. And sometimes the things that we think look really awful, other people don't mind. I think that I'm just, because I'm a YouTuber and I am someone who pays attention to detail, I can imagine that everybody else saw it too, which I'm sure you guys did. But it's really not that big of a deal. Just don't do it in the next video. But I think I sat with it, was obsessed with it for hours. Like, I should have put a bra on. Why the hell did you do that? And it's because it looked good in the mirror. But when I sat down, everything kind of falls. But then I tend to get very neglectful at times too, hence the situation with no bra. why not just put a bra on before putting the top on? Why not cross all your T's and dot your I's prior to this happening so that it doesn't happen? I tend to sometimes get very obsessive, but then at other times, I tend to be very forgetful and neglectful, and it bothers me. I'll let something sit on a counter for days on end and not look at it on purpose. That's neglectful. Just move it, put it away. And I think that that's something that I'm working on, is just trying to find a healthy balance between the two. So that is definitely something that I am working on in the new year. The next question, I really liked this one, was things you wish you knew when you were younger. I get this question a lot, but I feel like my answer always changes because you think of different answers. The first answer that I have of something that I wish I knew when I was younger is you actually can force a lot of things in life. But when you do force things in life, you usually will regret it in the future, because nothing in life worth having, worth maintaining, worth being excited about is necessary if you forced it. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a job or career, if you're forcing it, it's not worth it. It's not going to benefit you in the future. When I was younger, all I wanted was to be in love. It's all I cared about, because I think that a part of me, being the oldest sibling and always needing to set the example and having parents that worked all the time, I really craved intimacy and love and just someone adoring me in a way that was not provided. Hence the reason I jumped from relationship to relationship when I was in my youth. And when I became an adult, I found that other people would have the same qualities, but they started them way later in life. So a lot of people possess that quality, but when they turn 23, 24, 25, where I'm out of that stage now. And I think that now that I know that forcing things is never sustainable and it doesn't make you happy long term, I genuinely just believe everything in life beautiful just comes to you when it's supposed to. Of course, hard work, consistency, and discipline will bring you closer to things. But usually when it pertains to people and things that you feel like you're really forcing, that you know in your mind are not good for you, it's important to let that go and release it. Another thing that I wish I knew when I was younger that probably would have prevented me from jumping from relationship to relationship is that being alone is actually really fun, and there's a lot of growing that you can do during your alone process that you literally cannot do with a person. Now, of course, if you're in a relationship, especially if you're married watching this, that's not to say that you can't grow by yourself. I just think that being that I've done both, been with someone and been alone, there's a growth that's just so different, and you find out things about yourself you would have never known. So I really wish I would have known that when I was younger, but I'm glad I know it now, because it's gonna allow me to continue the remainder of my life with that mindset. Okay, the next question is a personality trait that you still have from childhood. I feel like I'm the same person that I was when I was younger, but I think the thing that stands out the most is my obsession and adoration for like glamour and luxury and just celebrity culture and things that are just lavish and opulent. I was always the girl that was glued to the TV watching everything that was lavish and gorgeous. I always wanted the Beverly Hills Dream and, anything that was to me like very physically appealing and showed a quality of life that I wanted, I loved as a kid. And I still love it as an adult. Of course, now I've simplified my life to being more catered and tailored to my way of living that benefits me. But I still will always be obsessed with like beauty, fashion, money, and glamour, because that's just who I am to my core. I've always been a glam girl. And I'm excited to step into 2024 tapping into that version of myself a little bit more, because I've definitely been suppressing her. How did you train yourself to have higher standards? Well, usually if you weren't raised to have high standards, which I definitely was, but it wasn't like a religious conversation in the house. And sometimes things are just better left unsaid and more so learned through experience, even though I think we can teach it and it would be a great way to save people time. I do appreciate the things I go through to get me to where I am when it pertains to my way of thinking. So when you learn after ample amounts of mistakes that you've made when it pertains to dating, you naturally get high standards due to that, if you're smart. I no longer think it's funny or fun to engage in low vibrational activities because I know what it has created. I know the pain it inflicted on me. And you gotta get sick and tired to the point of no return. You need to get almost the ick with being treated like shit so that you never go back to that like part of your life again. I have never reverted back to accepting less after less felt disgusting to me. And it also, of course, comes from within. So the more that you work on yourself, the more that you nurture yourself and you cater to yourself and you start leveling up and aligning yourself with the life you want, why would you accept someone who doesn't at least live up to that standard? It doesn't make sense. So I found that I was the most ridiculous in dating and had the least amount of boundaries when I really wasn't nurturing myself. Okay, somebody asked, what is the worst part about your mental glow up? It's so hard because I try to always think of the positives when it pertains to things in life, but the first thing that definitely comes to mind is self-awareness. When you're working on yourself and you're glowing up and you're becoming the best version of yourself, you become more self-aware. And self-awareness is an amazing thing, but becoming too aware sometimes can take the mystery out of things, and you kind of sometimes know the ending to a certain book. So let's just say you meet a guy, he's a bad boy and whatever and whatnot, but you've been down this road before multiple times. You know how the story ends, therefore you don't romanticize that moment anymore. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with romanticizing something that sometimes ends. So self-awareness kind of sucks because it naturally makes you kind of jaded in the sense of, I know how this story is going to end, so bye. And you don't want to go through that pain again, so you avoid it at all costs. Same goes for certain relationships and friendships and anything in life that you've faced and have overcome. You're not so quick to face it again. I'll never forget when somebody said, falling feels like flying for a little bit until you hit the ground. That is literally what it feels like when you don't know what's gonna happen. You're gonna feel like you're flying. But self-awareness will feel like it's falling from the very beginning. What to do when someone constantly misunderstands you? Well, if I'm being honest, you don't do anything. I think a lot of people have their minds made up about you already, and you have to accept that. The more you accept the reality of the situation, that your need to be liked should be so little in comparison to liking yourself, you will live a better quality of life. I can really speak from experience when it pertains to being misunderstood, whether it's in real life or online. And I think that what I've learned in my life is, what is my purpose and what do I want my legacy to be? And I thought about it and I said to myself, well, people will check your tone, how you speak, how you say things. Oh, you said this wrong. And people are very nitpicky. They love to just focus on a thing. You know, you'll say something and they'll hyper focus on a part of what you said and then regurgitate it and reiterate it and keep bringing it up. And you're getting frustrated because you're like, that isn't what I meant, but clearly that's what you wanted to hear. And that seems to be a theme in life. And also it seems to be a theme here online. I will say something and somebody somewhere will take it personal. And I know I've healed in my life when I was on TikTok the other day and somebody was talking about their life and just the things that they've learned. And they said, you know, one thing that I learned in life is you get treated better and you're more respected in society when you have an education. And I watched that TikTok and I didn't feel anything. Although I am not college educated, although I don't have any degrees, I think in the past, had I watched that, it would have really offended me because I would have thought, well, I'm respected and I'm treated well and society likes me and da-da-da. And I remember thinking to myself, well, you know what? For a lot of people, that can be true. And maybe in their life, that is the case. But that's not my reality, so why would I be offended? And I think that that's when you know you've grown. So I don't misunderstand people anymore, but I do understand why people choose to misunderstand people because they're not healed yet. And when I think back to how I say things, how I present things, this is what I'll say. Before you check my tone, beware. I am not here to be positive. I am here to do good. And they are not the same thing. I will never forget when that was said to me. And I always say that to myself when I am misunderstood. If you take my passion, my excitement, and how I speak offensively, and you don't like my tone or my delivery, well, then it's not for you. I'm not here to be positive. I'm not here to be your motivational mentor, and I'm not here to be perfect. So if you're looking for perfection, find it elsewhere. I am not here to be positive. I am here to do good. There is a difference. And I feel like the more you focus on in life how you can do good and how you can get closer and closer to the version of yourself that you like, you will not care if somebody doesn't like it because you like it. And that's kind of where I'm at in my life. I really just don't care. Okay, this was a common question in my Q&A box. I feel like I get asked this question all the time because people are for some reason, very obsessed with people's relationships and exes and things like that. And I don't take it personally. I used to. I don't take it personally anymore because I understand that there's a level of curiosity there. So I'm going to answer this in a very personal way without revealing too much details out of the privacy for the other person. So the question was, do you miss your ex? Do you ever feel like you wouldn't be able to find anyone else again that's better? Let's break this down. When you spend a very long period of time with somebody, especially when you lived with them, he lived with me and my family for years. I don't really know if the word is, do I miss him as my ex? That's not really the answer I would ever give because it's not real. I don't miss him as a partner. It's more so of the memories that you reminisce on. So you think about, oh, like that was sweet, or oh, that was a moment, because when somebody is a part of your growing journey in life, I met this person when I was 17 and stopped dating them at 24. So that's a huge part of my life. I want to also say this. I don't understand why people will say things like, do you think that you'll ever find anyone else ever again that was better? And I feel sad if that's your reality. I am 26. We broke up when I was 24. Imagine saying to a 24-year-old, oh, you're probably like never gonna find someone like ever again. Like, in what world? In what world is that really someone's reality? People always start over. I mean, there are people who have started over in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, or 60s. You can always start over. If this was someone who I thought I would never be able to find better again, I would have never left the relationship. It was my decision to leave. And when you're a woman, it's a well thought out decision normally. When I've done the healing and the inner work to identify what it was that brought me to that point and why it took me so long to leave, because if I'm being honest, I knew that I didn't want to be with this person anymore after year 4, but I stayed for an additional 2.5 years because I felt like that was what we as women are conditioned to do. We're conditioned to stay in things sometimes longer than we should. And I finally got to a place where I realized that all of the things that we have been sold have been lies. It was not a marriage. So I don't need to hold on to something for dear life. And honestly, I don't believe in holding on to a marriage for dear life either if it's not working. But a lot of people feel differently about the marriage subject. But I was not in a marriage. I was still in my early 20s. I was successful. We were in 2 completely different life arenas and different parts in our lives. Like, it did not make sense for us to be together anymore. And in knowing that, my decision was clear. It was crystal clear. Just because you know you don't want to be with someone anymore romantically doesn't mean that you don't care about that person. That was something that I knew, oh my God, like you are a person that you never thought you'd be. I never thought in my life I could ever leave something that I cared about. I never thought that I could do hard things. Honestly, that's the truth. I never thought I could do hard things. This was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, and the reward was insane. I found myself. I strengthened my relationship with God. I improved my relationship with relationships. I actually really rebuilt my relationship with my family during my single era, because the way that they were there for me through that time was different than I've ever seen them there for me ever in the years prior. And that actually makes me emotional because it really did heal my relationship with my family, because prior to me becoming single, I was me and this person against the world type of girl. It was me and him and everybody else is secondary. And you realize very quickly that certain people are disposable and are not going to be with you through every chapter of your life, but my family was. And that strengthened my relationship with my family because I realized, wow, y'all really are the only people that I have for eternity. What a beautiful way to really conclude 7 years. I feel nothing other than pure happiness in this chapter in my life. And I hope that what you guys can take from this is you guys are so worried about the what's next that you're staying in things that don't feel good. You're staying in things that are unfulfilling. I did that for 2.5 years after realizing that I didn't like it anymore. And I chose that after the breakup, I was no longer gonna make decisions like that anymore. And my first prayer to God when I became single is, God, never let me stay in things too long if it's not meant for me. Not a friendship, not a relationship, not a business partnership, nothing. And when I tell you, the second you give that prayer to God, He starts to remove every single thing out your life that wasn't meant to be there. If you want things that you've never had, you need to do things you've never done. And there was so many things that I wanted that I could not have had I not gotten rid of some things in my life. People, things, whatever. There was a level I needed to get to, but in order to get to that level, I had to let things go. And that was really what was the thing that allowed me to be complete in my decisions. Okay, the next question is, how do you cope as a woman who works a lot? I like this question because it has to do with mental health. I think that coping is something that we learn. Hopefully, you learn coping skills as you go through life. I have dealt with anxiety and depression and things like that. And I've learned to cope by not holding on to things for too long, by talking about them with trusted family and friends, by giving myself a break on a day where I feel overwhelmed and giving myself grace. It is normal for us to have a bad day or go through a moment. Hell, I had anxiety this morning mopping my floors because there was dirt from the dog's paws because my backyard was filled with mud because it's been raining the past couple of days. And I just was stressed out and had an anxiety attack because I could not believe how hard it was to clean my floors this morning. Like, I just wanted them to be spotless and I just could not get them to be that way. And I took a beat and then I got back to work. And then as soon as I got done mopping, I rewarded myself by just sitting on the couch and relaxing. And I just cope by understanding that it's normal to have these feelings from time to time, but to not allow them to overpower your life. We all have jobs and people in our lives that are worried about us and thinking about us, and we have all these different priorities and expectations. And it's important that we nurture all of those things, but we also nurture our mental health and our well-being by just knowing how to move through life the best way that you can according to your mental state. And I know for me, like, tough love advice has always worked for me. So if somebody said, girl, just do it, just get it over with, it did work for me. And I know that can sound insensitive to some people, but that was what worked for me. I had driving anxiety a few years ago, and my mom pretty much said, if you want to go somewhere, you're going to have to just be able to drive. And it was the tough love advice I needed because it was the truth. You can baby people and give them all these foo-foo-fa-fa bullshits, but at the end of the day, if you don't give it to them real, they're not going to be able to really go through life the way that they want to. You want to get over something, you want to be able to cope with something, you got to learn how to roll through life in a way that builds grit and strength on you, like armor, and also nurturing the parts of you that are sensitive. There's a balance. It's a balancing act. Okay, the next question was, how do you feel about vices? Do you smoke weed or drink? I do not. I guess unpopular opinion, and I apologize, but it's my channel. I just think that, like, smoking weed, like, as a woman daily is kind of trashy. I get it. If you're going through something and you were prescribed it for those reasons, then fine. I just don't love the idea of vices, period. I just don't like them. Have I smoked weed before? Absolutely. Have I drank? You guys know. But in this part of my life, it's really all about sober. Like, if I could pick another word for 2024 other than unstoppable, it would be a sober year, a sobering year. Not even just sober from weed or drinking, but sober from vices, period. I want to completely get rid of anything that was making me sick or giving me a false sense of purpose. I only want things that make me feel good, the things that I can come back to and know I can rely on. So for me, no, I don't drink anymore. I'm sober from alcohol since the beginning of November, and I'm planning on continuing to be that way for a long time. Probably will not be smoking weed in the near future. It's not my thing. I think it's just a little It stinks. It makes your fingers smell. It ruins your nails. And it's a depressant. I don't like smoking and drinking for the simple fact that it affects your mental health. If you really go and research it, because I don't want to hear that, oh, well, I smoke weed for depression. It literally is a depressant. So it might make you feel good in the moment, but the effects of it later do affect your mental health, which makes you continuously want to use it. It's a depressant, alcohol and pot. And consider that if you have been struggling with anxiety, depression, or other things in your life, it's important to face these things head on and sober-minded so that we can build that resilience in ourselves. Eliminating vices from our lives will allow us to be the most clear thinking versions of ourselves. Somebody said, explain in detail more the swimming pool analogy and how it applied to your life. So I kind of brushed over this in my Glow Up Mentally video about a swimming pool analogy, and I actually heard it from someone else. They talked about it. And they pretty much said that, like, certain things in life feel like not as great to you. You want a swimming pool your whole life. All you want is this freaking pool. You get the pool put in the ground and then you never swim in it. And that's exactly what living in a luxury apartment building felt like to me towards the end. It really just felt like I was paying for something that I wasn't appreciating. And I wanted to get to a place in my life where everything I buy, I appreciate to some degree. Even if it's the smallest amount of appreciation, I want to acknowledge it. And I wasn't even acknowledging how amazing I was living because I didn't like it anymore. That's the truth. It wasn't giving me a purpose. It didn't make me happy. And I think that you try so hard to sustain things because you realize that other people like it and other people want that, but I don't live for other people and it wasn't giving me a purpose. So it was important for me to get closer to the version of myself that I actually liked, which was the version of living the life that I actually wanted to live and enjoyed every moment of. I know I love my life now because every time I walk into my house, whether it's a mess, whether it's clean, whether it's sunny or cloudy, like today, it is so weird out. It's a weird overcast. No matter what the weather is, no matter how my house looks, whenever I walk into my house, I smile. I'm like, oh, I love my house. Like, it makes me happy, and I notice little things about it, and it puts me in a creative mood. Like, when I moved into my apartment, I had no interest in putting up pictures on the walls. I didn't want to do anything to the apartment. I literally had all my furniture from the last place, and then I bought a new couch because my previous couch was way too small for the apartment. But other than that, I did no investment into that apartment, and that's how I knew I didn't care for it, because why are you not trying to make this apartment a home? I did not care to live there. It literally felt like I was living in a very sterile hospital in the sense of it's very beautiful, but it's not conducive for my life. I was not appreciating the cathedral ceilings. I wasn't appreciating the electronic blinds. I wasn't appreciating the second bedroom. I wasn't appreciating the gorgeous bathrooms because they weren't the gorgeous bathrooms I wanted. They weren't the gorgeous bathrooms I created. And I realized, oh, okay, so Haley, what it is that you really want is you want a luxury home, but you want to design it. So I bought a house that I could see a vision for, and now this house is going to be my dream home. I am literally doing the renovations that I've dreamed of in my legit dreams. The things I'm doing to this house are insane. The things I've discussed with my contractor are insane, and it gives me purpose because it's going to be mine, and I'm going to appreciate it. I love electronic blinds. But you want to know something about my apartment? The windows were so goddamn big, guys, that it brought in so much sun that it made my house piping hot that I always had the blinds shut. So I'm paying for this view that I don't even look out. So what I decided was I have a house now. I'm going to get electronic blinds in this house because I love the blinds. I just didn't like when they were open. But I don't mind my windows being open here. So that's kind of the swimming pool analogy and how it applied to my life. I found that the simpler things in life brought me purpose and getting closer to the luxuries that make me happy versus the luxuries that everyone says that makes them happy. This is Haley's life, not everybody else's. And I live for me. Okay, the last question, because this video is getting super long, is a helpful example quote that you read recently. And it was the first one that popped up on my Pinterest that I saved, the most recent, which was stay away from the 4 M's: mad, messy, manipulative, and miserable. When I tell you that resonated with me, ooh, child. I don't like messy, I don't like mad, I don't like manipulative, and I don't like miserable. I can always tell when somebody writes me something and it's written with messy intent. You were not curious, babe. You were just trying to be messy. But you want to know something? Things don't bother me the way they used to. I just find that I like to get closer to the happiness, to the positivity, because it keeps me level-headed. So when I see things that are mad, messy, manipulative, and miserable, I cut it out. Friends, family, people online, whatever. If you're mad, messy, manipulative, or miserable, don't even come near me. I'm so serious. And I like the M that starts with money. Okay, money is the M I like. So that's all I care about. But the closer you get to loving your life, living your life for you, and realizing that at the end of the day, it's just you versus you, you're gonna live a way different life. I am so grateful for the life experiences that I've had, because when I speak to you guys and when I even speak to family and friends, I feel like I'm ahead in life in some ways, because the things that I had figured out earlier on, I now have already experienced and I know the answers to. I really hope that what you can take away from my life is you can live a very good quality life being alone, pivoting, losing something, dealing with hate, being overweight and then losing it, having life experiences that make you bad and then they make you great. And you go through the trenches and then you get to the other side. That is something that I profess in my own life because I'm human. I am a human person. I have human feelings, human emotions. And I hope that that resonates with you in some way. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for your questions. And thank you so much for supporting Helmus. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone. Mwah.